The TSA has decided to shift one of their policies in a way that a lot of people are not agreeing with, and that is that they are now allowing blades of a certain length to be carried onto planes, as well as other weapon-y sort of materials. So let's read some of the materials here. Starting April 25th, passengers going through U.S. airports can bring on board Swiss Army-type knives, specifically ones with blades no longer than 2.36 inches. Among the other items also allowed on board are lacrosse sticks, ski poles, and small souvenir baseball bats. All of those potentially could be used as weapons.
Yeah, I mean, how about chainsaws and flamethrowers? I mean, you could do serious damage. I mean, 9/11, these guys had box cutters. Box cutters about that big, the blade's about that big. A ski pole, a baseball bat. I mean, why not Viking weapon?
I don't understand why they're being so inconsistent, right? Like why on one hand they're like, no water bottles, okay, no liquids.
Well, it could be acid in there. So you can have a water bottle, but no longer than 2.36 inches.
I hate flying.
You know how much good hair product I've had to throw away? I'm sure as a woman you've had to do it too. All my good stuff.
I'll never forget going to Hawaii with my family, and my my really funny immigrant father is going through the TSA line, and he had like this big ass bottle of mouthwash in his carry-on luggage, and they're like, "Sir, we're sorry, you can't take this with you." And he's like, "What do you mean? But this is my mouthwash." My dad loves his mouthwash, right? And they're like, "No, you got to throw it out." He was livid. So my dad can't take his mouthwash with him. But if you want like a 2.5-inch blade, then that's totally fine.
Well, 2 1/4.
2 1/4. Okay.
Look, if your father actually has a strong accent, I wouldn't get worked up at the airport. That might throw them off.
Believe me, I tried to calm him down. I'm like, "Dad, I will buy you mouthwash when we get to Hawaii."
Yeah, I'm sure they have mouthwash in Hawaii. It's obviously a little more expensive because of the taxes, but
yeah, it was, but whatever.
Yeah, and so it's obviously funny how they'll allow some things through, and they say that it has to do with the fact that I think we see here, just in Los Angeles International Airport, they seized 47 knives of the sort that would be allowed under this in just the last 3 months of 2012. So apparently there's too many blades, we can't afford to stop them anymore. But some people are really worried about the safety of people that work on these planes and obviously passengers. So we have a quote from Stacy Martin, the president of Southwest Airlines Flight Attendants Union. She says, "While we agree that a passenger wielding a small knife or swinging a golf club or hockey stick poses less of a threat to the pilot locked in the cockpit, these are real threats to passengers and flight attendants in the passenger cabin." It seems like kind of an unnecessary dig at the pilots. Like, I don't know that the pilots are making this change happen. It's TSA.
Well, I think it's a legitimate point that she's making, because they are locked in the cockpit and they're generally safe. So yeah, the individuals that we did a story like a few weeks ago of that unruly passenger that had to be duct taped to his seat because he was so drunk on duty-free alcohol, right? So like, can you imagine that guy having a knife? Like, I don't want to deal with that dude.
I don't understand how people get angry drunk on a plane. Like, I have like 3 of those little wine things and I'm completely unconscious. Like, who's getting having a drink on a plane and then wants to fight? It just doesn't even make sense.
It's crazy, right?
I just don't get it.
Yeah, drinking on a plane is probably the best thing. I feel it affects you the most, right, when you're in a plane? Because I feel like I'll drink like a glass of wine and I'm knocked out.
That could be the Xanax too.
Yeah.
Because when you combine those two.
Right, I forgot about that.
I mostly just drink and I'm immediately asleep for the entire trip. That's the way I operate. I don't like the turbulence. Just sleep through it.
Yeah.
Can I just say that kidding aside on this thing, that I think if the TSA people were a little better at their jobs, and I know it's cliche to make fun of them, but if you go to JFK in New York, most of these people don't look like they should be working at the TSA and acting like they should work at the TSA. So if these guys were doing a little better job, and I know that maybe they should make more money and that whole thing, I think maybe it would be a little more okay if certain things were allowed on planes.
Well, I just wanted to make one other point about them not wanting to police people wanting to carry knives or whatever. So okay, let's say tomorrow everyone shows up at the airport with guns. What are you gonna do? So it's too many guns. So we don't want to deal with it.
Little guns.
Little guns,
You can bring your little gun.
With a barrel no more than 2.36 inches long. It's possible. Exactly. You mentioned flamethrowers. This is probably just Reddit logic, but they said that there's actually no federal regulations on flamethrowers in America, which I found to be interesting. Consider that for your next flight.